Hey everybody, welcome to On the Homefront. I'm John Murphy. Very happy you're with us today. You might be catching us live on WILI AM 1400 or 95.3 on the digital FM. We're also on YouTube right now, as you can tell. All the 5 o'clock shows are there on the WILI radio channel, so you can catch our shows anytime throughout the year. And I've got a very busy show today, so we're going to get right to it. We have 4 segments today. We're going to talk about a concert from a wonderful local choral ensemble, the Consonare choral community, at the end of the show. We're going to have Phoebe Godfrey here. She's a wonderful local artist and has a show at the Kerri Gallery opening April 2nd. We're going to hear from folks in Mansfield about the next repair cafe and a special home tour in Mansfield looking at home solar energy storage at home and batteries. And we're going to open with the Willimantic Food Co-op, a real institution here for decades. I'm very happy to have them back in the house. Sitting next to me, we have Patricia Smith. She's the general manager right now. She's been with the co-op for 16 years now. So thank you for all your good work and for being here today.
Oh, thanks, John. Thanks for having us.
And, congratulations on the new role. Best of wishes.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
The co-op's at a very historic time right now. You're coming in when a lot of major things are in the works that are going to set the stage. So it's a good time to be there.
Sure is.
And also next to Patricia is Marisa Oseguera. She's the front-end manager. She's been there now for 6 years. Good to have you in the studio, too.
Thank you.
So one thing I've noticed over the years, people are still learning about what a co-op really is and how it's a very different place to not just go to shop, but you join it. You become a member and you have a stake in it, and you become part of the local economy in a different way. And that's why they're here. They do it with food. And that's why, Patricia, maybe you could let people know again the whole idea of what happens there and how money works very differently at a co-op.
Sure. So a co-op is an organization that's owned by its members, especially for the benefit of its members. And so it's a democratic business model, and everybody contributes financially to the co-op, and that's what gives us our basis of our financial strength.
Right.
And so that's what joining means. It's not like joining a buying club like Sam's or BJ's.
Costco.
Right,
Costco,
it's very different from that. It's you're actually purchasing equity. You're contributing equity to the co-op, and then you get to benefit from that, including voting for your board of directors, and so you have a stake in it, and you have control through representative democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Marisa, in terms of the everyday there, which is close to what you do, how is that working now, and how are you trying to make the daily operations economically efficient? But you have to deal with space. There are so many products you could carry, but you don't have room. And we'll talk more about the expansion of the co-op that's in the works as well. There's this whole project to give more room, but they're working on it. So how is it going now in the everyday in 2024?
Oh man, we've been growing a lot. Our sales growth it's just been up and up and up, and we recently put in 4 registers. When was that? Like 2022?
I think it was 2019.
Okay,
I think
it was
before
longer than I thought, but I'm starting to feel like now 4 isn't enough. But we only have so much space, so we're very selective about what we put on the shelf because of our shelf space is so limited.
That's right.
But I feel like we have it curated to a good category mix right now.
Yeah.
And you learn from your members, too. That's the whole relationship. It's not a transaction.
Yeah.
It's a relationship. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, and we take product requests on a regular basis from our members to decide what we are carrying or what we no longer carry.
Yeah. So what do you think is the reason why there's more activity recently? What's the reason for things to be growing? What do you think it is?
Well, I think there are a few different reasons. One is that the health and wellness lifestyle, so to speak, has become more mainstream over the years. When the co-op first started back in the late 70s, health food was still a very niche thing.
That's true.
And now it's much more mainstream. You can get a lot of the products that we carry at the co-op now in other places, whereas in the past, the co-op was the only place you could get those items. So the landscape has changed, and in some ways that's made it more challenging for us because you can go to some of these other traditional, conventional grocery stores and get the same thing. So we have to compete much more on price on those items. But we also are very differentiated still from our competitors in that we have an incredible produce department with almost 100. It's 100% organic and then local as well. Really focused on local during the growing season and even through the winter now more and more. That and our bulk aisle, bulk foods, is a huge category for us, and it really sets us apart. It creates a lot more affordability because you can bulk food in general is less expensive. You can buy as much or as little as you want, and you can bring your own container to refill, so you're also cutting down on waste.
I know Marissa was mentioning that because you don't have waste. Like if you only need a cup or two, you don't have to buy a big bag and end up not using it and maybe tossing it later.
Yeah, if you're trying something new, a new recipe, you can come in and just get the exact amount that you need for that recipe instead of buying a gigantic amount of it that you might not ever use the rest of.
Yeah. Now, something else that comes up is at this time of the year, we're getting more into farm-to-table restauranting, where the restaurants are sourcing their food locally. Well, you're trying to do the same thing. Can you talk about how you work with local farmers in our area so food doesn't travel across the country on trucks or train cars? It's like driven here locally, and that affects the price, but it keeps the money local. It's not going to a company in Colorado or anywhere out of state. So you keep that equation going, right? How does that work?
Absolutely. So local is a really big focus for us. Of course, not everything in the store is local, but we are always tracking how much of our, how much of our sales are local products, and we keep track of that, and we try to grow that percentage every year. I think in 2023 it was about 16% of our overall sales were local products, and so we're really always seeking out new local producers, not just farmers, but people who make soaps and salves and tinctures or products like hot sauce and things like that. So it's a real focus, and it's a real draw for people. And like you said, it really keeps more money in the local economy.
Yeah.
And in terms of the price. Local farmers need to make a living wage, right? So we try to pay them a very fair price for their goods and mark them up less than we might mark up a national product.
Well, that's part of what your board works through is how to keep the balance so the co-op grows financially, but allows a little sharing in some way.
Absolutely.
Kind of like a benefit corporation, in terms of the private sector, a B corporation can do that now.
It is similar to that, yep.
Yeah. So I just want to mention the website before we close. It's willimanticfood.coop, okay, www.willimanticfood.coop. Just quickly, what's there to help people follow up on our chat today? They can join, they can learn more about the board, they can learn more about how to get involved. What else can they learn to follow up on our chat today? And then we'll have you back maybe in June for a summer.
Yeah, sure. On our website, you can sign up for our newsletter. You can sign up to receive our sales flyer or just view the sales flyer on the website. You can find out about job openings. You can find out about joining the board or attending board meetings. There's a lot of information there.
Right. And they also take SNAP benefits. If you need those, that's a good resource. That is very important in terms of everyday life. So thank you for the good work you're doing for our economy and to give people a more creative way to use their money. And I wish you a great season ahead. We'll have you back.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. We're on the home front here. We're moving today with a fast show with 4 segments. We'll take a short break and come back, talk about the town of Mansfield, the Repair Café, and solar energy. Don't go away. Okay, we're back on the home front today in a very busy show. Right now, we're going to talk about 2 programs that are very important through the town of Mansfield. One is the Repair Café. It's been happening here for years. It happens 4 times a year, and they have one coming up on April 13th. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. We also have someone here. They have a special event on April 6th in Mansfield to tour homes to learn about solar power and solar energy storage with batteries at the home. They have demonstrations to help you learn about how this is working. So we'll look at this energy issue today for the next segment, and we're going to start with the Repair Café. Sitting next to me is Rita Kornblum. She's a member of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee in the town of Mansfield, and she's one of the volunteers at the Repair Café for many years. And next to Rita is Ginny Walton, the recycling coordinator for the town. She was one of the people responsible for the cafe starting years ago. And it's great to have you all back in the house today. And also with us is Peter Millman. He's from the Sustainability Committee, and he's here about that solar energy project. So we've got a lot to cover today. So people are still learning about the Repair Cafe and how ingenious it is. It's coming up on Saturday the 13th. What's special about that day, and how can people participate?
Well, what's particularly special is we're going to have a teddy bear clinic, which I will let Dr. Rita talk about. But anything that is electronic, electrical, sewing, something that needs sharpening can come to the Repair Cafe, and we will try our best to fix it.
Yeah, and we tried the teddy bear clinic once before with success, and we thought that that would be a nice thing to add to the Repair Cafe at this time.
There are a lot of animals in distress, it turns out, through household accidents and no one's fault.
Well, true, but kids get very attached to their stuffed animals, and it's very nice sometimes that if they're not in good conditions that they bring, and they actually get them fixed. So we're excited to add that piece to the Repair Cafe as well.
This whole idea started years ago in Europe, and it came over here. And we're at springtime, spring cleaning in the garage and the attic, things you might toss. You can think twice and get them fixed. Use them yourself or pass them on. They have all these volunteers there who fix bicycles, appliances, jewelry sometimes, book repairs. With a teddy bear thing once in a while.
Yep.
So tell us where it is and how people can join you on that day. How does that work?
It's at the First Congregational Church in Willimantic, and that is on Valley Street. It's at Arnold Auditorium, so
Right,
it's
in
the
the church.
fellowship hall attached to the church. It's from 10 to 2,
Right.
and we'll have signs out.
Yep.
Directing people where to park. There's parking at the church and also across the street in the municipal parking lot.
Right. Just a couple blocks from our studio. It's across from Willard's. Easy to find, and it's a great opportunity to meet people. They have food there as well, so when you're waiting around, you can visit and chat with people.
And we usually get pizza at lunch.
Yeah.
Yes, it's actually growing over the years. How many years now? Can you recall how many
10.
years?
It'll be 10.
10 years this year?
Yeah, it'll be 10.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So they're here for this opportunity again, Saturday the 13th. And now, Peter, welcome to the studio. It's nice that we haven't done studios for a while. It's good to have you back.
Well, I'm pleased to be here.
And so folks know about solar. They know that all around the state, people are considering installing solar, and like storage is a big issue today. And that's a part of the tour that you're helping on April 6th. So talk about what's going to happen that day and how people can learn a lot more right here in town.
So on April 6th, Saturday, at 2 and then at 3 o'clock, there will be tours of 2 separate Mansfield homes where the owners have installed both solar and battery storage. This is part of a larger program having to do with energy storage incentives provided by the state of Connecticut.
Right.
One thing about the tour on April 6th is that you have to register for it. And the way that you can do that is to call the recycling agent for the town of Mansfield. Her number is 860-429-3333. 429-3333. At the time that you call to register, she will give you the addresses, and you can visit one house or the other house or both houses.
Right.
And you don't have to be a Mansfield resident. All are welcome.
Of course, when you call that number, you'll probably get Ginny right
Yes.
there.
That's me.
Surprise, Ginny. See?
Yeah.
The job never ends, doesn't it?
You could also email me
Yeah.
at my last name, which is WALTON, for my first name, Virginia,
Right.
D, at mansfieldct.org.
All right. You know, for our family, we put solar in a few years ago, and we're very happy that we did. But storage wasn't really as widely available back then. It was really prohibitively expensive. But they're trying to make it more affordable now, and I guess that's what you're working on, is how to get that price down, right? How's that working?
Well, the incentives that are being offered by the state of Connecticut through the Connecticut Green Bank,
right,
are fairly generous. It's still pricey. It still can be pricey, but there are two kinds of incentives. There are upfront incentives to help you purchase the system, and depending on the size of the system, you will get a larger incentive. Also, depending on your income, you can get a larger incentive. And there are some other ways that you can get a larger incentive than the standard. But there's a second kind of incentive, which is called a performance incentive. And that is that if you agree over the next 8 years to allow Eversource, since that's where we are
right.
in Eversource territory, if you will agree to allow Eversource to draw power off of that battery at critical periods to reduce demand, reduce peaks on the overall system, then they will pay you for that electricity.
Like during a heat wave. When there's a massive demand, right?
That's right. And the pay for the performance incentives get a little involved. So I'm not going to give you misinformation, but
sure.
there are different incentives for the summer and for the winter.
Yeah. Well, we have different energy use needs, and sometimes things are short, sometimes we have more than we need, and sometimes it's sold, sometimes it's saved. But I guess for the average homeowner, the whole idea is if you have the sun coming in and you have the energy, you may be able to store a few days' worth, depending on how many things in the house you connect, as a backup system. Rather than have a home generator, this is another way to do that.
That's exactly right. This is an alternative to a fossil fuel generator.
Right.
Much cleaner, much quieter, and besides benefiting your household, the more of these batteries that are on the system, the more it reduces peak demand, and it helps all other ratepayers.
Right. All right. So these tours are 2 and 3 in the afternoon on April 6th. And on the 13th is the Repair Café at the First Congregational at 199 Valley Street. I wish you both great weather and a good turnout. Peter, please, another point. Yes.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
The Mansfield Town Hall is closed on Fridays. So if you want to register tomorrow, you could. But more importantly, next week, the last day that you can register is Thursday, April 4th by 4:30.
Okay. April 4th, that's to get the list ready for the tours.
Yep.
Okay. Ginny, if somebody wanted to learn more about your work through the town, should they go to the town of Mansfield and go to recycling if they wanted to learn more about the work you do throughout the year?
Yeah, they can go to mansfieldct.gov
Okay.
/trash.
There you go. Speaking of trash, one thing we'll have Ginny come back is recently we've changed operators and towns are going through sticker shock at the new rates for garbage. The cost for taking care of trash, sending it out, is really getting to be very high. Towns are trying to figure out how to budget for it. Customers are realizing their bills are going to be jumping a little bit this year, like right now. And that's something that we'll talk about next time.
Okay.
But I know you've got some good news to share about that and some bad both ways. And it's not just one town, it's all over the region, so it's not just a Mansfield issue. But thank you both for being here, for your good work.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Wish you good days. Okay, so we'll take a short break here on the Homefront. Stay with us. We'll come right back and talk about local arts with Phoebe Godfrey. Stay with us. Okay, we're back on the program today. We're glad to have you with us. If you'd like to get involved in a future show, just send me an email. We'll be happy to have you here in the studio. If you've got a story to share, let us know. It's john@humanartsmedia.com. Don't be shy. We're halfway through the show. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to look at a wonderful choral ensemble, the Consonare Choral Community. They have another concert coming up on April 7th. I've had Sarah Kaufold on the program many times before. They do wonderful work with music and the voice, and we'll talk with her in a few minutes. But right now, I'm also happy to share the studio again with Phoebe Godfrey. I've had her on the air many times over the years, but right now she's here about a show that's opening at the Kerri Gallery right here in town, a couple of doors away, on April 2nd. So congratulations on a new show, a new creation.
Many new creations, always.
Yes, and the theme is From Ideas to Art and Exploration. So this is a wonderful space to be in.
It is.
It represents a whole community of artists. So what was your thought as an overall theme in terms of the feelings? Where are you traveling with this show?
So my latest work is a artistic and sociological analysis of the Book of Genesis. And it has a lot to do with looking at that particular story. And for me, it's a story. For others, that may not be the case, but
Right.
To each their own. And it looks at the story in relation to climate change. And my interpretation for Eve, because as we know with the story, well, there's various stories. The first part of Genesis, God makes humans, male and female, out of mud. That's chapter 1.
Was there fried food in the garden?
Was there fried food? Well, that doesn't come later. That comes
Sorry,
later. The fried
sorry.
food is later.
Okay.
So the piece that I just created starting yesterday, and it was a total inspiration, is actually a welded and plasma cut piece, is on creation, which is going to represent chapter 1 in the Book of Genesis, it's more of an installation, so it's layered metal, and there's going to be clay, and there's going to be the little humans, and you have to come see that. And then chapter 2 is when we meet Adam and Eve. And so the paintings that I have for chapter 2 are Eve and the apple, because everybody knows that story.
Indeed.
But the painting is called We Never Fell, and it's Eve rejecting the apple, because one of the problems that Christian missionaries had when they were trying to spread the good news, and the good news is only good news if you believe in the idea of original sin, right? If you believe in the idea of original sin and that you need saving, then the good news is that Jesus is here to save you. But for most indigenous people, or all indigenous people, that concept of original sin didn't resonate. They're like, Creator gave us fish, Creator gives us a beautiful island, Creator gives us buffalo, Creator gives us, the
What we
three
need to
sisters,
live.
what we need to live, and
right.
so why do we need to be saved? And of course the missionaries were like, well, then we'll kill you. But the idea we never fell is if we didn't fall, would we be able to understand that we're still in paradise? And if you're in paradise, would you destroy it? Right? Because a lot of the concept of the fall and original sin, to me, is a justification for the destruction of the planet. That's where it has led, right? It's like, oh, we're all sinful, and matter is evil, which a lot of early Christians believed in, right? The spirit was good and matter was evil. The body is evil, which you have to flagellate and you have to control it.
It's true.
And it's full of sin and lust and all that, right? And so again, if we never fell, how would that challenge what we are doing to if you believe God's creation, or to this beautiful planet, or the one planet that has life in the universe that we know of, right? So that's the first painting. The painting on the flyer,
I love this.
In the poster in the window of Kerri Gallery is called...
I'm going to hold it closer to the mic
Okay.
so people can see it better, because it has this 3D.
Yeah, it is 3D.
And
It's
it's
multimedia.
It's the first time I've seen a picture that reminds me of Be Here Now.
Oh, okay.
That original book that does that. It takes you
from
right
Ram
in.
Dass.
It
Be Here
takes you
Now.
right in.
So
Okay.
this is called Adam Swipes Out the Animals, and it's on species extinction. If you remember in the Book of Genesis, Adam names the animals. Right, he gets to name them, and that's also very interesting culturally, because for other people's creation stories, the animals are here first. And then the people come, and the animals help the people. In our creation story, the people are here first, and we get to name. And when you get to name something, it's like you get to own it.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
If you control history,
Yeah,
you control.
yeah. So from naming the animals, Adam is now swiping them out, and it's a play on the idea that we're too busy watching TikToks to care whether species are going extinct, and also we've realized, well, we can have AI animals. Like, why do we need real,
yeah.
right? We just...
Well, you know what they're saying now, speaking of this, is in the last few days they've done a short report, and they're saying that there's an incredible demand for AI, but it's a very expensive, and it uses electricity at an incredible rate.
Of course.
And as they design AI power stations, it's competing with local supplies for houses, small businesses, utility grids. And it's like, how much more can you produce? And some of them are saying, well, we need small, limited nuclear. and they're looking at saying AI can feed itself with small, safe nuclear energy at a controlled level so they can grow and not hit the grid, because the grid right now can't handle everything.
Yeah.
It's an overload. It's another kind of resource overload.
Another kind of resource, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Adam.
Wow.
And then the third one, and there'll be other paintings, but the third in the series is Cain and Abel, and it's called The Fratricide of the Farmer, and it's on Cain. Cain was the farmer. His gift to God was wheat, and Abel was the herder. His gift was the lamb. God rejected the wheat and accepted the lamb, and that's why Cain killed his brother, because he was jealous that God didn't like his gift. But if you think about what those gifts represent, so who had wheat, right? The farmer. Who had the herder, who had the lamb, and we can see, the fratricide going on still, right? Farmers are still killing indigenous people. We want the Amazon. We want more spay. Let's cut down the Amazon for our cows. Let's cut down this forest, to grow our soya beans. Let's cut down that forest, and so.
And we still feel entitled.
Yeah, and we still feel entitled that farming is associated with progress and civilization, and it's the greatest thing that ever happened. But, then we're like, well, the largest impact of climate change is coming from industrial farming, right? The degeneration of the soil, water pollution, the treatment of animals and animal waste runs off into waters, and so each painting is trying to provoke people to question, how we perceive our relationship to the planet and how it has been framed by the stories that we tell or that have been told. And
sounds wonderful.
Yeah, and then there are other ones that don't necessarily fit in this theme. Some of them are older, but it should be a fun show. And I've never had a show of all my own work. I've had pieces in galleries in Brooklyn or galleries. We have this Molten Court, Molten Lava Gallery. But I'm very honored and excited and happy that we have this gallery, and also the gallery supports Camp Horizons. It does amazing work, and so it's kind of that nice overlapping of community engagement.
So I want to give you the information. 861 Main Street, a few doors down here, the Kerri Gallery. Opening April 2nd. There's a reception on April 4th from 5 to 7. So if you have a chance on the 4th, come by to visit, hang with Phoebe, talk to folks around that day. It goes through the end of May, so you have a lot of time if you can't make it then. Do you have any plans for Molten Court for the spring at all?
Actually, we're doing another show on mental health, another trigger warning.
Yeah.
And that's going to be May 17th to 19th.
Wow.
So Friday night will be our opening, and so anybody is welcome to come. 31 Molten Court. It's the Molten Lava Gallery. If you are suffering from mental health, know anybody suffering from mental health, think anybody should come see it and realize they're not alone. There's a community of solidarity and healing. You are an upcoming artist and might want to show next year. Right now we've got enough artists. Also, Saturday is open mic, so listeners, if you are a poet, you want to tell a story, you want to do a testimony, you want to sing a song, you want to play an instrument, bring your instrument. We will have open mic. People will start signing up around 11 on Saturday the 18th, and then on the 19th there will be some kind of workshop. We haven't quite decided. Actually, Dionisi Torres, who was on your show last week, I think is going to lead a workshop on mental health and healing, but I don't have the full details. So if people want to find out more, they should.
Is it a Facebook page where they could go?
That would be great, but I don't think so. They can email tmshurshak@gmail.com. That's my wife. Tina is managing the show. We're not actually in the show, but we are kind of the curators and the supporters.
I was at the last show. It was packed.
It was packed.
It was a great
and one of the things that came out, is how much we need conversations around mental health, around self-harm, around suicide, and that's the title of the show is Trigger Warning, right? So it's recognizing that these are issues that are triggering, but I think what is most triggering is silence. and the refusal of a society to face what is actually happening because it doesn't fit in with our image of what should be happening, or how our young people should be feeling, or what a successful community should look like. And it's like, no, actually, there's so much more going on, and healing requires the sharing and the sense of community, and realizing that you're not alone, and that it's not your fault, right? That
Right.
This is systemic, right? Whether people have anxiety or stress around racism and climate change and the upcoming election, and cultural collapse and gender issues and identity, all of these are legitimately upsetting. And if you weren't upset, then I would say then you really have, there's something, or you're just you're so shut down, you're not allowing your emotions
Right.
to
That happens too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that has its role. But the goal of art is always to invoke conversation and community and empathy, or solidarity.
Right. And that's why we have Phoebe today. It's always great to have her in the studio. Again, it's going to be April 2nd to May 31st. From ideas to art and exploration. We'll continue the conversation. Next time, thanks again, Phoebe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. Great to see you.
The timing is great. People are struggling, and they need places to go, and the media needs to give a safe space.
Absolutely.
Because right now, that's hard to find, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take
Okay.
a last break and come back and talk about a wonderful vocal chamber ensemble. You stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back here on the Homefront. We're very glad to have you with us today. We're on AM 1400 and FM 95.3. Our shows are also on YouTube. They're available 24/7. And if you're a guest, we can get you a link to share your story in your own media. And we're going to close the show today with Sarah Kaufold. She's with the Consonare choral community. She's their executive and director, programming director. And she's been here many times talking about their work. They have a concert coming up very soon. And we're going to talk about this event, their work with youth, as well as a very special ensemble which is called the Voices of Consonare. So they have different kinds of choral work. And so thank you for being in the studio again. It's great to have you back.
Thanks so much for having me, John. I really appreciate it.
You bet. So let's start right away about the Time event coming up in just a few days. Let's talk about that first, and then we'll get into the work you do throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So our Voices of Consonare has a performance this on Saturday, April 6th. So not this weekend, but the following at 7 p.m.
Okay.
And we will be on the Yukon campus at St. Mark's Chapel. And the whole point of this concert is called Mirrored. And the idea is bringing out the unheard voices from composers from the Baroque sort of classical era and put them up against their more famous contemporaries. So when we say unheard voices, we're talking about composers that were primarily women, that their music has not really been performed much. So we're going to give them a concert, as it would have been up against their contemporaries of the time. So it's with organ, which is really special because we're an unaccompanied ensemble. So we're going to be performing with a tracker action organ, which would be the organ that would have been applicable at the time, that would have been used at the time period. So it should be a very special.
What a texture to add to the voice.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's going to be a really special concert. So we're hoping we can get as many people there as possible.
Now, you recently did something with the Willimantic Orchestra.
Well, not yet.
Oh,
We're
that's
going
coming up?
to. That's coming up. We're looking for singers for that, too.
Tell me.
So we're performing some excerpts from Carmina Burana, which, if anyone knows anything, any commercials where there's, vibrant war scenes, Carmina Burana is a part of it. We're doing excerpts from that, and also a new work by Elaine Hagenberg called Illuminari, and it's all for chorus and orchestra. So we are collaborating with them. We just started our first rehearsal this last weekend, and we're still looking for singers, primarily of the tenor variety.
Right.
But we're open to all singers, so there's no audition, and it's as accessible as possible. Lots of resources, lots of rehearsals, sectionals, anything to make anyone feel comfortable singing on the stage with orchestra, which is a pretty exciting opportunity.
And sometimes you perform outside. Sometimes you perform, and you're laughing right away.
Yeah.
During COVID, sometimes you performed inside, and I'm sure the acoustics are very challenging when you're outside, but it's another way to share the voice. It's a different environment. The sound's different with the air.
Yeah, there isn't as much of an acoustic capability. And
Right.
hey, we've sung in some churches where there isn't a lot of acoustic ability too, so it just
Yeah.
depends on the space and how it's been treated. But we will be performing with the orchestra at Eastern at their beautiful fine arts complex. So the acoustics in there are fantastic.
Aren't they? Yeah.
Oh, they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that will be May 19th, Sunday, May 19th, with the Willimantic Orchestra. So that, mark your calendars, or come to our website to hopefully sign up to sing. We rehearse in Storrs.
That's right. So definitely something to check out. Now, also, they work with youth to get them introduced, because we all know that when you get youth connected to art in any way, it's a path for life. Even if they don't go into the field, it changes their whole enjoyment. Can you talk about how you use the voice with young people and the choirs and what you do?
Absolutely. We have currently 2 youth choirs. So ages 6 through 10, which is a little young, but those kids, they really just enjoy singing. We just had a concert this last Saturday, and they not only did singing, but some choreography with a song from of Malaysian descent. It was really a great opportunity. So that's 6 to 10, and then our older choir is about 10 to 14 or 15. And so we've got these 2 youth choirs that rehearse at the same time as our adult choir. So we're in different areas in the building. So that means we've got parents upstairs with kids downstairs. It works so well in tandem.
Family affair. Right? It is.
It is. That doesn't mean you have to have kids to be in our adult ensemble. It's just an extra opportunity, or let's say lack of a barrier for you to be able to sing.
Yeah.
And the kids enjoy it, and the adults really love singing with the kids. So we always try to do at least one song together or some sort of collaborative opportunity. And it's been a really wonderful experience having helped foster the kids in this art form, which we think should be open to everyone. Singing is something that everyone should have the opportunity to learn and to do. Yeah. So start young. And then those that didn't start young, I love that in our adult choirs we have folks that maybe sang when they were in high school and then just gave it up for years, and then in their later years come back.
And, the body is the instrument.
Oh, yeah.
It's all in your hands. No pun intended.
Well, no. Well, it's in my hands as a conductor, but it's in everyone's, larynx for everyone else. But
now, when you look at support for this, you founded the group, I think, in 2018.
Correct.
It's an all-women's group focused on women's music. Are there other examples of this in New England where folks have gathered around this theme of either sharing work that has not been performed for whatever reason, or people currently working that want more exposure? Either way, but that's part of the work itself, supporting women.
Our work, absolutely, definitely. And I'm sure there are other groups that are starting to be a little bit more understanding of the fact that much of classical music has been a very white, male-oriented field.
Absolutely.
Up until this point. So I think there are a lot more ensembles that are starting to do a lot more women, or gender fluid, non-binary composers, which I think is really a wonderful step in the next direction to make sure that classical music stays relevant and stays something that everyone can see themselves reflected in.
Are there people digging through history to find manuscripts, things that were created but not performed, things that were lost? I know they're looking through the masters' works as well. People that everybody know, they also have unpublished, unperformed works. But are they digging back to people that were very creative, but in their context they weren't heard?
Oh, absolutely. Florence Price, she is one of, I would say, in the last 3 years, the one that's been the most prominent. She was a black composer in early 1900s, and her music is exquisite. Never learned about her until someone had found, and I unfortunately do not know the scholar's name off the top of my head, had found her work, and they have started publishing it. So our women's choir, Choir Matrix, which is a community ensemble, just performed one of her compositions just last Saturday called The Moon Bridge. It's so really exquisite. And there's another one, Resignation, that is for SATB that we haven't done yet, but it's on our list to do. She's just got a really wonderful book of repertoire that we just didn't know existed because it wasn't out there in the world. It hadn't been published.
That's right.
So there are scholars that are doing the work, but it has to go past the scholars. So choral directors have to step up and look for the stuff. I'm not going to tell you that finding Florence Price's Price's music was easy,
can
because it
imagine.
wasn't.
Yeah.
So choral directors have to take that extra step and start digging. And it takes so much time, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And I think it creates such a richer tapestry of what we're performing. And so we work really hard to program music that is sometimes less heard or historically excluded.
Right.
And that's not all we do. We create a very balanced program.
Absolutely.
So that it includes, as it should. It should be balanced, so it includes everybody.
That's right. But some of that stuff that you're saying is far more emotional because of its history. That it has been lost and it's giving a life that otherwise it might not have. Because I also want to talk about they have a website, and we're going to try to get Sarah back in May before their next concert, and we'll try to burn some CDs of some of their tracks that are online that we can't play here right now, because we're using our computer to record the show, actually, that we'd be playing. But tell people about the website and what's there if they want to hear more about your work.
Well, the website has all of our choirs included on there, but the big thing is that our professional ensemble, Voices of Consonare, has our debut album coming out in less than a month. So April 19th.
Okay.
Yes, April 19th. Awaiting Golden Light is the title of our album, and it's being produced through Novona Records, which they've won Grammys for previous artists, so we have our fingers crossed.
Good quality recordings, good quality.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But it's, the way it came about was during the pandemic we continued to sing. That was one of the things that we were sort of adamant about, so we found every safe way we could do it, which was outside, as you mentioned.
Yeah, we had you on once just before an outdoor show.
We were outside a lot with masks, whatever we could do to keep the songs kind of going. We also had commissioned a composer to write us a piece of work that sort of reflected how we felt at the beginning of the pandemic as singers sort of being silenced because singing was deemed unsafe. And so she wrote us this beautiful composition called The Breadth of Blossoms, which kind of talks about we all felt like we were kind of like bulbs in the ground just waiting. Yeah. Waiting to, sort of resurface from the snow and the winter and the bloom. And we, as lost as we felt, we knew that there was a chance that we were going to be able to, sing again, and we did. So that's on our album. We also have one of our singers, Brian Jones, who has been composing, and he composed us this beautiful song called It May Be, and that's on the album.
Oh, we'll have to you go back for that.
So it kind of the album arose out of when we were in a place where we probably felt lost. Yeah. We wanted to find those universal experiences that everyone could feel. So like stepping outside, looking at the sun, the stars, reveling at the moon, all of those like universal experiences, watching a sunset. We knew that we could still do that. We knew that others were still doing that, and that was a way for us to still stay connected when we were in a moment of such isolation during the pandemic. So a lot of the music has sort of that either thinking of like the heavens, celestial bodies, the sun, the stars, they kind of have those connections. That's why it's called Awaiting Golden Light. Yeah. Because that's kind of whether we're sitting waiting for the sun to rise or for the sun to set, we know it's going to rise again the next day.
It kind of takes us above our natural differences to something that we all share in a different way.
Exactly.
It's more universal. That's great. We'll have to have you back in May then, after this comes out and before the May event. When's your May event again? May 19th?
May 19th, and our album release is April 19th, so that works out really well.
We'll plan for that about a month from now. We'll have
Sounds
you back,
good.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. That's Sarah Kaufold, the artistic director of the Consonare choral community, and that's the website is consonarecoralcommunity.org.
No, it's CONSON dash sing.
Go ahead.
.org.
.org.
I had to think a second. I was like, wait, what?
All right.
Yeah. So CONSONARE-sing.org.
Okay. Well, I wish you a good season ahead, and we'll have you back next month.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, look, our time's flying by. Thank you, Matthew, for riding the Bronco today. We've had a very busy show. And thank you, most of all, for staying with us. We'll see you next week. Take care. Keep the faith.